And it's another Only Scott episode. No, it's just me. Guess what, guys? We're on the 26th episode of the podcast, and the podcast now, well, technically yesterday, turned 6 months old. Can you believe it? You probably can. I mean, it's not very hard to really believe, is it? But yeah, it's kind of weird to think I've been doing this for 6 months now. It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. Scotty being sick, and of course, different guests on, and just trying to figure out how to get this shit even happening or going, and how to, I guess, learn how the podcast format works, how to release it, how to kind of juggle the social media, how to edit all the videos. I just realized how talented I am. Nah. I've fucked up a lot of shit. Anyway, I kind of wanted to start the podcast by talking about a little bit about the background of, I guess, maybe more of the stats and sort of where I'm at. Not necessarily because I want to gloat, because trust me, there's nothing really to gloat about. But at the same time, if you're thinking of starting a podcast or trying to, get a creative endeavor going, and you're doing it literally from scratch, and by scratch, I mean you don't really have much social media presence, or you don't really have much in terms of, let's say, people who really engage with content that you put out or whatever. It doesn't actually fucking matter. And it doesn't need to be super professional, as you can probably hear. It doesn't need to be as professional and as, I guess, high level of, I guess, quality of the production, because the content is actually the most important part. That's what matters the most. The content here is, comme ci, comme ça, but, anyway. Let me kind of give you a bit of an insight into the podcast, sort of maybe a little bit behind the scenes. So, currently sitting now in October, the podcast on YouTube has grown to 82 subscribers. TikTok has 54 followers. The Instagram has 109 followers, and Facebook has 27 followers. So, as you can see, I mean, roughly you combine that all together, it's probably 250, not even 250, probably 200 and something, which is sweet as for me. I don't really mind. But I guess something to consider when you start out doing podcasts or creative content or YouTube or anything like that, especially if you're someone, like myself, who doesn't really have much of a social media presence, or I don't really do much content, you're not really going to have you're not really going to get any big numbers or anything crazy. The aim of the game of growing an audience and growing a channel, all that stuff, actually comes down to just being consistent. Obviously, having good content and having good, podcasts obviously make a difference. Of course, you want people to come back and get some retention. But a lot of it is actually down to being consistent. One of the big things I've noticed about doing this podcast is I think I only missed 1 week of doing it. And I really noticed, with me missing 1 week, I wouldn't say the stats went down a lot, but the algorithm definitely, I don't know, it kind of got a bit funky after that on the podcast. Obviously, when I do these sort of solo segments on my own where I just talk to myself, I don't make reels or do videos or anything like that, because I don't really think they're worthwhile. I don't think they really offer much, because these are kind of just rants, opinion pieces, and a bit of news and a little bit of insight. Whereas having guests on, that needs the reels and maybe some videos. Speaking of that, actually, one thing I've stopped doing with the podcast at the moment is I've stopped editing together the YouTube videos, so the ones that are 4 to 5 minutes long. Part of the reason for that was because just time it would take to make those. Arguably, I would say the reels take longer. The reels take longer to make. But the reels, not just in terms of engagement and views and obviously growing the channel, but making those 5-minute videos and that, like, they didn't really, you can just listen to the podcast, to be honest, for those sort of bits. And I think the channel at the moment is also too small in terms of people really wanting to watch even a 5-minute video on YouTube. So I kind of just stopped doing them because I do everything on this podcast. It's literally all me. It's all me, guys. Obviously, Scotty comes on and he was helping me out. We were, we have our own little segments and things that we do. But I'm the one who, I release everything, set everything up, organize guests, you fucking name it. That's all me. So it can be a lot of work, but it also depends on how you think about it. You can make a podcast as difficult, as frustrating, as stressful as you want, or you can just kind of go with the flow, which is what I do. I don't really overthink this at all, as you can probably hear. I really keep it kind of like, I don't know, like sometimes guests might pull out, people's schedules clash, things happen, right? Life, everyone's got shit going on. Sometimes I don't get the guests I want on, or I ask people. Haven't asked I've asked a few people, just haven't got a response, and that's just how it is. Sometimes you don't get them. But at the end of the day, it's just like chat. That's all it is. Like, it's just chat that's recorded into a microphone and has a camera. Like, it doesn't need to be as grandiose as I think some other YouTubers and content creators make it out to be. People believe they're really important doing this shit. I mean, I am really important, but not because I do a podcast. I don't believe I'm that important. I just enjoy doing it. I mean, I literally monetize. Well, I don't make any money off this, but eventually, imagine just making money off talking to myself. Fuck yeah. I talk to myself for free. Why don't I monetize it? Duh. We're living in 2023, guys. You got to be thinking about that shit. Can you monetize yourself? Like, as an example, like, could you? No, okay. I'm thinking about bad things, so I'm not going to go there. But you know what I mean? Like, you'd be surprised of what you can monetize. I mean, hey, if this podcast ends up making money, which I'll let you guys know when I make money, I will be pretty stoked because I get to make money off just chatting shit. How good is that? Take that, Joe Rogan. But yeah, sorry, went off a bit there as I usually do. But like I said, you gotta, with a podcast, it's just about kind of going with the flow, doing what you can. I have a bit of audio experience, so I know how to set up microphones and get some decent quality. I got Logic, I run on that, and I have an interface. But I have all that stuff because I've done recording music before. So, for me, I think to some people the recording process could be quite daunting, which I can understand. Once again, audio, you can make audio as complicated as you want. And trust me, I even still do at this point. Funny story, I actually tried to build it was like not a booth. It was almost like it's like I built a room inside of a room almost because I wanted to really soundproof the space I'm in that I record the podcast in. And let's just say I built this roof that was fucking shit. And I spent a little bit of money on it. It's a bit embarrassing. And then I got some really heavy wood, some MDF and some timber posts, and let's just say that it did not work. And it was super fucking heavy. Scotty came over and kind of laughed, and I just took it apart and scrapped it. I still got the timber and the MDF actually, but it was a little bit embarrassing. But sometimes you gotta fuck things up to kind of figure out what works. And now I just kind of just do whatever. I'm just like, all right, well, as long as I've got a bit of soundproofing, the microphones sound reasonable, everything can be heard, there's no latency issues, there's no peaking or distorting, which is pretty simple. Like, all you really got to do, I mean, there's a little bit of echo in this room, which isn't ideal, but to be honest, it's not that annoying. But all you really need to do is just chuck a compressor on this shit, and I just I don't really do much in terms of production of audio. The audio is the easy part. The video is the pain in the ass. Because if you look at the old reels of the podcast, you'll actually see that, first of all, the stretching, oh man, that's fucking, that's not that great on the reels. But the other thing that's, is like just shit to look at is the lighting. The lighting is just this, natural glow of the room, which is just yellow and just looks just real shit. But it gets the point across, like that's what I'm kind of saying as well. Like I can critique the podcast on a production level all day, every day. But then again, you'll just be forever critiquing and never starting, which is, I think, a lot of fear that a lot of people have. And I definitely have that. Like, it needs to be perfect from the get-go. It's like, it's not how this shit works. You got to do about 50 or so before they get even reasonably good. So that's kind of in the mindset I'm in, is I'm just going to keep doing this and see what the fuck happens. I don't imagine this is going to do anything big, but hey, if you keep it consistent, you never know. Something else I've noticed while doing the podcast is it's really important to release on all platforms. I'm not just talking about releasing a podcast on all platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Tidal, blah, 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 blah. I'm also talking about releasing it on the, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and putting all the reels on all of those and having links to the content if you can put it on. It's really important because a video or like a reel that might do well on Instagram probably might not do well on YouTube. Or let's say a reel or a TikTok little clip that gets put on TikTok that does well. It probably it might not do well on Facebook Reels. Facebook Reels are shit, by the way. Like, that's, like, I don't think they've really had much from that at all, which is all good, like, whatever. It's kind of just an experiment, but Facebook Reels is a bit disappointing, since old Gary V hyped it up. Fucking Gary V. No, I'm kidding. He seems, interesting, but he was all about Facebook Reels, man. They're taking over. They're going to be fucking in. No. So yeah, I just sort of, the biggest views I get is Instagram. And by biggest views, I mean a couple of thousand views on like a reel, every now and again, but it fluctuates. It really does. So as an example, I put out a reel on Sunday, which I really thought was not that interesting, I'll be honest. It was just Scotty talking about a story about a gig he went to when he was in the Gold Coast, where he pulled out he watched a drummer in a band play, and there was not really a drum kit, and he pulled out a drum kit from the trash and started playing it, right? I mean, it's kind of a cool story, but I wouldn't say it's the most interesting or funny, entertaining story. And for some reason on YouTube, it got like 10,000 views. I don't fucking get it. Maybe it was the hashtags I put in. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of reasons why it might have done well, but 10,000 views is a lot for me, guys. I mean, you're talking to somebody with what, like not even 100 subscribers. 10,000 views is a fuckload. And so I kind of am reminded every week, every time I release reels or release content or whatever, that releasing on all the platforms is really important. It's really important. Something else that another insight of mine is how not that great Facebook is in terms of, not just in terms of followers, but in terms of just engagement. Like, if you go back 5 years, fuck man, Facebook was super, I mean, it still is massive, but it's just not the same in terms of engagement. It really isn't. It's also, I mean, the audience is obviously different. Most people on Facebook are above the age of 30, I'd probably say. All the, Gen Zs and the Zoomers or whatever they get fucking called. They're all on TikTok and even Snapchat. That's so weird. I can't believe people use fucking Snapchat again. I'm like, really? Snapchat? All right. I gotta get on Snapchat. No, I don't give a fuck about that. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook is enough. I can't be bothered about doing more. Unless you pay me, then maybe I will. Maybe I'll think about it. Yeah, that's kind of all I really wanted to go over, I suppose, in terms of the podcast. So after 6 months, it's been kind of buzzy. This will be the 26th episode. So if you're wanting to start a podcast from scratch, you fucking should, because anybody can do it. If I can do it, I believe anybody can do it. Also, I believe you need to be fucking patient. You really got to be patient. Like, you're not going to be overnight hits. Unless with a podcast you manage to get on, like, let's say you get on a big celebrity or influencer or someone with lots of clout, as the kids say. If you get someone with lots of clout who comes on your first podcast, maybe you'll get some of the subscribers and viewership, right? Probably. But unless you kind of do that, I think it's going to be a bit of a grind, for sure. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, anyway, that is just some background on the podcast. Something else I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I would like to kind of definitely touch on a little bit, is just the crazy shit going on in Israel and Palestine right now. Oh, man. Gosh. Horrible, horrible stuff. But are we surprised? Unfortunately, the conflict of these two countries has been going on forever. I kind of wanted to touch base on this a bit, not just for you guys, but also for myself, just to kind of read a little bit about it. So I found quite a good sort of summary of the conflict. Just to kind of, help idiots like me understand on a little bit of a deeper level of what's going on and why. So this is from I think it's called Reuters.com. Reuters. I don't think it's called Reuters. It's Reuters. Man, this is when like my ADD and like fucking like dyslexic like retard comes out. Can you say retard anymore? Fuck it, I can. All right, let's move on. So, what are the origins of the conflict? So, as this article describes, it says the conflict pits Israeli demands for security in what has long regarded as a hostile region against Palestinian aspirations for a state of their own. Israel's founding father, David Ben-Gurion, proclaimed the modern state of Israel on May 14, 1948, establishing a safe haven for Jews fleeing persecution and seeking a national home on land to which they cite deep ties over generations. Palestinians lament Israel's creation as the Nakba, or catastrophic, that resulted in their disposition and or catastrophe. Sorry. Let me read that sentence again, because I'm stupid. Palestinians lament Israel's creation as the Nakba, or catastrophe, that resulted in their disposition and blocked their dreams of statehood. In the war that followed, some 700,000 Palestinians, half the Arab population of what was British-ruled Palestine, fled or were driven from their homes, ended up in Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria, and as well as Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. East Jerusalem. Israel, a close U.S. ally, contests the assertion it drove Palestinians from their homes and points out it was attacked by 5 Arab states. God, that is crazy. Yeah. Damn. Attacked by 5 Arab states. What the hell? It was attacked by the 5 Arab states the day after its creation. Armistice pacts halted the fighting in 1949, but there was no formal peace. Yeah, Palestinians who stayed put in the war today form. Hold on, Palestinians who stayed put in the war today formed the Arab-Israeli community, making up about 20% of Israel's population. It's always about religion, eh? And just to touch on a little bit, so what are the main Israeli-Palestinian issues? So this is what the website says. A two-state solution. Israeli settlements, the status of Jerusalem, and refugees are at the core of the dispute. So this kind of lists like the two-state solution, settlements, Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Why can't I say Jerusalem? And refugees. So those are kind of like the main issues that this conflict is about. It's very unfortunate. It's really sad. There's so much political bullshit involved in it. I watched a video today where I think it was, I might be wrong about this, but it was either it was on Israeli soil or Palestinian soil, and they were firing missiles at bombs and blowing them up, like literally just above like suburbs and homes. It's fucking sad. Hold on. Oh, got sniffles. Yeah, pretty sad. I'm very lucky in terms of like, not living in a war-torn country with bombs and war and having to worry about going outside and just getting killed or just dealing with horrible stuff. It's important perspective to kind of have, I believe. And when you kind of read about this sort of stuff and you watch some clips, I don't know. For me, it always makes me feel. It's not just sad, but I feel very disheartened by just society in general. Not just like all of society, but now that we're still dealing with like religion, beefs, and war, and just dealing with, I think, people who make these decisions at the top, and then the citizens just suffer. Holding on to this beef for so long and then just continuing the suffering. And then, of course, with the weapons development and weapons supply, someone's making the big buck somewhere, making a lot of money, and who's excited to push the weapons development, especially more missiles and bombs and guns and whatever, military vehicles. They're just making shitloads of money off it, and they just hope the conflict continues. And that makes me feel fucking like just helpless and angry and annoyed all at the same time. So, if anyone who's listening who's from, Palestine or Israel, feel for you. This shit's crazy. Take care of yourselves if you can. And look after your family and your friends. And I don't really have much more to say on that, unfortunately, because there's nothing really that else can be done really from my end. I guess if we can support, if there's any aid. But yeah, that's the other thing as well, is that this subject is very politically dividing, isn't it? Because people obviously who also on people's religious backgrounds and cultural backgrounds come into consideration with this as well. Yeah. Very sad. Bombs away. Oh, man, I'm going to hell. I'm sorry, guys. I had to lighten up the mood a bit. That's how I deal with shit like this. I'm like, well, it is what it is. Fuck. Anyway. Moving on. I asked you guys for questions, by the way, whoever's still listening to my rubbish. And I got 2 questions. Come on, guys. I need content. I had to pull out some shit of my ass today for content. Anyway, so I do have I actually got 2 questions. One was really generic and nice, and the other one was from a mate of mine who I knew he was probably going to ask this question, but I will answer it. Question time. Okay. The first question I got, it's from Scotty from the Boondocks. Shout out to you, bro. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. It was awesome learning about your band and that. Check out their new song, by the way, Black Taxi. It's cool. Really cool song. Yeah. Awesome. So, the question was, what are your favorite hobbies outside of music? I have a lot of hobbies. So I guess my other hobby, apart from doing music, is martial arts. I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, and most of my friends, they know I do it. I'm not very good. I do kickboxing and I do jujitsu badly. And I do jujitsu very badly. I'm pretty bad at it. But it's a pretty awesome sort of sport. And I believe when I get older, I'm thinking about the long term, man. It's a pretty hardcore sport, but I believe in the long term, keeping up the flexibility and the body moving. Kickboxing is also important for this, but kind of learning about martial arts when you're not on your feet, it's a whole different ballgame. And when I do jujitsu, I really feel that. Because growing up, I did a lot of boxing, and then I started doing kickboxing on and off for quite a few years. Dabbled in a bit of Hapkido, which is Korean MMA. But I kind of stopped doing that because it kind of felt like I was going to school all the time, learning technique. And there wasn't really much fitness involved in it. Whereas when I do kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, you get a workout, and at the same time you're learning the techniques, which I really like. So yeah, that's kind of those are kind of like, it's a big hobby of mine, a kind of a big part of my life. What else do I like to do outside? I mean, outside of music and podcasting, I don't know. That's probably it. I'm not that. I mean, music takes up a shitload of my time, especially mentally. So music is a big part of. I still am doing music at the moment. I've actually been composing for a film. Woo! Don't worry, guys. It's nothing like Hollywood, but it's pretty cool. So that's something I'll definitely be posting about at some point. And I've been getting back into doing my own music again recently, which has been fucking cool. Really been enjoying that. And I've really been enjoying, I've just been enjoying being creative again. It's been a little while. It's been a bit of a tough year for me in a couple of ways. And I'm really happy to be at a point now where some things in my professional life have worked out, which I'm very happy about. And the knock-on effect of that is I feel good about doing creativity again. And I'm feeling positive about the future in terms of making music and pursuing some more creative endeavors. And yeah, little warm fuzzies. But yeah. Sorry, just dragging out your question because I'm just trying to think of what else I like doing. I like hiking when I get the time. I don't really get to do it much, but I like going out, and I love walks. Love a good walk, so I can sort out my brain. I like a bit of gaming. I've been doing a bit of gaming actually for a little bit. There's a game I love playing called Outer Worlds. I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I love the Outer Worlds. Fuck, that's a good game. It is sick. Really fun game. So yeah, I've been playing a bit of that. Watching series. I love Star Wars. Been watching Ahsoka. Fucking sick. I love Star Wars, as I said with Scotty. I'm a sucker for Star Wars. Was it Simp Vader? That's pretty funny. Yeah, definitely a bit of a simp for Star Wars for sure. So I'm watching that. I've been watching some Chinese martial art dramas with the missus, so that's been really cool. Really enjoy that, which also has a lot of martial arts in it, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, I'd probably say that's pretty much my hobbies, to be honest. Yeah, thanks for your question, bro. Appreciate it. All right, now I'm going to save it's not a juicy question, I just suppose it's like a clickbaity question almost. So my mate Jeremy, he asked me, why do I hate wagon wheels so much? Let me explain about this. So I used to play in a cover band for a few years, and I had to learn a lot of material. I think I learned like 70 songs or something. It was a really cool experience. Shout out to the guys in the band. It's called Fifth Avenue, by the way. Auckland-based cover band. Yeah, really awesome, good guys. I left just because I wanted to kind of, get my podcast going, and I had a few other things I was doing at the time that I just kind of realized I couldn't really commit myself to the cover band. And also I just sort of lost a lot of enthusiasm for it as well. And, I didn't want to leave on, just being a miserable prick. So I just was like, at the end of last year, I just decided to leave, which I think is definitely for the better. They're doing really well, playing lots of gigs and just crushing it. So it's good. And one of the songs I had to learn was Wagon Wheel. Now, I've known about Wagon Wheel my whole life, right? Bob Dylan originally wrote it, I think. And then the version we would do is the Darius Rucker version. Now, why do I hate the song so much? That's a good question. Why do I hate the song so much? It's a mixture of, in my opinion, the laziness of the song. And a lot of country music kind of does this. And the other thing is I'm not a big country music fan. Like, we covered Sweet Home Alabama, which you could argue is like rock and roll meets country sort of thing. I didn't enjoy playing that song, but I didn't mind it as much. It almost wasn't, it's annoying, but it's not Wagon Wheel annoying. I think it's also, everybody gets fucking stupid with Wagon Wheel. Like, there's just something about that song where people get, I don't know, like everyone just loses like fucking all their IQ and just get drunk, like drunken stupidity, which I don't mind, but just drunken stupidity on that song is like, shut the fuck up. Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. And I don't know. The vocals, the lyrics, I understand it's kind of like that American Western kind of vibe. I just don't find it appealing. And the songwriting is lazy. I mean, a lot of pop music is 4 chords and that, but there's just something about the song where it's just fucking naff. And there's just nothing interesting in it, especially instrumentally. Like, it has just a kind of crappy chord progression, and it has a really boring, I don't know, just aesthetic about it. And I've heard it so many fucking times, and I've played it a lot, that it just grinds my gears beyond belief. It's just annoying. There's so many better songs out there. Like, can we do any other country song? Like, why can't people like Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash? That's way fucking cooler. Way more unique, more instrumentally interesting, better hook, voice sounds better. I just reckon it's just arguably a much better song. It's also because Wagon Wheel's like a lukewarm pop country song as well. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's like a lukewarm country song. Like, look, go full redneck. I'm not a fan of the going full country redneck, but if you're gonna do it, just do it. Don't try and make it like a polished pop, fucking like Wagon Wheel, do 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 do. Hey, mama, rock me. It's just like, at least make it more redneck and just, I don't know. I think the overall perception and how people enjoy that song fucks me off. People's happiness around that song annoys me. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's my rant about Wagon Wheel. So, how would I summarize my hatred? Lazy songwriting, boring hooks, a lukewarm country song, and just kind of lame. It just doesn't have anything cool in it. It's just like so uncool as well. It's just so fucking like, there's just nothing to it. It just sounded like someone, like, didn't Bob Dylan write it and then just kind of like fucking whatever, and then people were like, oh, this is great. Ugh. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's my reasoning behind not liking Wagon Wheel. Those are my questions. That's my podcast. I hope you enjoyed me rambling like I do when I fucking don't have any guests. I do have a guest coming this week, which will be really cool. Someone who I've actually known for quite a long time, but I haven't had the chance of actually seeing him in a long time. And yeah, I guess somebody from a reasonably popular New Zealand rock band. So I think it'll be quite a cool podcast, and we'll get to talk some shit and have a laugh. Or he will walk out and realize that this is a waste of time. Either way, I'm up for it. Nah, he's a good guy. I'm just being a dick. Thank you everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed my ramblings, and take care out there. Bye.